Over the last year, I've posted hundreds of videos online about healthy eating and living, and this has allowed me to engage with thousands of viewers, especially with older adults. So I'd like to share with you in this video a very common concern that I hear from both my viewers online and my patients in the clinic, and this is having a lot of fatigue. So in this video, we're going to break down what is causing some of this fatigue and causing people to feel constantly tired as they get older. And then, more importantly, we're going to be able to explain what we can do about this. Hey, I'm Dr. Anna. I'm a medical doctor. And here on this channel, I'm here to bring you the best of what I've learned from my career. So first, let's just lay the foundation of this discussion. As we get older, it is very common and typical that people start to feel their energy slow down. And this might be happening even if people are getting enough sleep. And we also know that as we get older, we don't necessarily need the same amount of sleep as we did when we were younger. But nevertheless, the feeling of being constantly tired can be a big drag on our life and our lifestyle and can make it super difficult to get through just our daily tasks. So often, this kind of fatigue can really affect the rest of our life. And this makes it even harder to stay active. It will impact our mood, which can really affect our relationships and those living with us. And ultimately, being really tired and inactive is going to lead to even worsening conditions of things like muscle loss, bone loss, and risking having falls or fractures later. But even in the short term, moving less because we're so tired might cause us to gain weight. So as you can see, by having all of this fatigue, it can quickly cause our health to spiral out of control. But wait, hold on a second. There's something you need to know. Now, if I put my doctor hat on for a second, it is very clear that there are so many reasons why people might be feeling fatigued. Fatigue is not just a result of getting older. Fatigue could be caused by other things going on, like underlying hormonal conditions, maybe hypothyroidism, vitamin D deficiency, or even things like depression. So sometimes people feel excessive fatigue if there's something more serious going on underneath the surface. Now, if you've been to a doctor and you've gotten checked out, you might be wondering, is there more you can do for your health to improve your energy levels and not feel so fatigued? Well, my answer to that is a resounding yes, and that is what we are going to dive into right now. So before we do, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification. Your subscription helps this community grow and thrive. So here's how you can think about how to prevent and manage fatigue with other things besides medications. The first point is that, as I always like to teach folks, healthy diets are really essential, and one of the best things to maintain our energy over the course of a day is by prioritizing protein at every single meal, especially at breakfast. So we know that protein is one of our essential 3 macronutrients. We have proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. And protein is the one that often doesn't get enough press. It's possible that people aren't eating enough in general. But what we're starting to learn about is that our protein needs may in fact increase as we get older to offset some of the issues of natural muscle loss. In other words, sarcopenia. So there's a lot more research being done about protein right now, and we're not going to get into the nitty-gritty data that exists in research studies. That's not what this channel is here to do. This channel is here instead to simplify and give us the tools we need to make sure we are optimizing our health. Now, if you are concerned that you're not eating enough protein, of course, I encourage everybody to talk to their doctor, seek professional help from maybe a dietitian or a nutrition counselor. But as well, make sure that every single time you organize a meal for yourself, that you're eating a source of protein. Whether this is animal-based protein or plant-based protein, protein is really important for our health. So this could be things like milk or yogurt, or it can be chicken or eggs, or it could be other kinds of meat like lamb or beef or pork, and seafood. And don't forget about plant-based proteins like legumes, beans, or lentils. One of the things that always comes up in discussing protein, especially recently online in the world of nutrition YouTube videos, is the hot topic of red meat. And you're going to hear of these things like the carnivore diet, for example. Now, we're not going to dive into controversies or theories about these different types of extreme diets. That's not what we're here to do. But here's my personal take on red meat, and here's how you can think about it for yourself. Red meat, like any other natural food, is a natural food that provides our body with a lot of nutrition. And this is some of the best quality protein we can eat in our diet. Where red meat becomes kind of a hairy subject is when talking about the fat that comes along with the red meat. Often, the fat that is in red meat, such as beef or lamb, is going to be of the saturated fat variety. And this has historically been linked in population-wide studies for causing things like increased risk of heart disease. Now, causing increased risk, that doesn't mean it's causing heart disease directly. Often that information comes from research studies that we cannot derive direct causal links from. So if I've already lost you, don't worry about it. Long story short, red meat is a healthful food if it's eaten in a balanced amount. But what is a balanced amount? Well, that is a point of debate. So what's the second way that we can optimize our energy throughout the day using our diet as a tool? Well, this is to eat other foods that are going to allow us to sustain our energy throughout the day. As I mentioned, protein does this really well, but as well, sources of healthy fiber, such as whole grains. So one of the easiest things you can do is switch out the grains in your diet from highly refined and processed grains, from things like cookies, cakes, biscuits, white bread, into things that are a whole grain variety, whether that's cooking, rice, quinoa, farro, amaranth from its whole form, or if that's to buy a whole grain bread. Maybe it's a local bakery in your town and you can get an amazing rye bread or a multi-seed bread. I am not of the opinion that bread is inherently bad for us. And I know there are lots of different people out there on the internet and in the world who focus on eating less bread for overall health. I'm going to leave that up for you to decide. But I think that for a lot of people, if they're new to the world of healthy eating, starting with a whole grain bread instead of a white bread is one of the easiest switches to make. Now, what's another way that we can optimize our energy with using things like diet as a tool? Well, this is going to be by making sure we get enough magnesium in our diet. We know that magnesium is a nutrient that helps our body convert energy at the level of our cells. If you want to get your magnesium from food-based sources, this is mostly going to come from plants like dark leafy greens, such as spinach or almonds, for example. But not only, it could also come from pumpkin seeds or black beans. There are plenty of foods that give us lots of rich sources of magnesium. However, this video is tailored towards older adults, viewers like you, who might be watching this because you notice that your energy has declined over your lifetime. And so what we need to pay attention to is that a common issue with older adults is decreased ability to absorb nutrients. So if you are concerned about your absorption of magnesium, you could opt for taking a supplement or focus on eating these foods. But one general recommendation that is something to keep in mind is that there are some receptors in the body that allow us to absorb nutrients that have the same receptor for multiple nutrients. So one of these examples is magnesium and zinc. They actually have to compete with each other to get absorbed. So one thing you could do is to separate out when you're going to take a magnesium supplement from having a zinc supplement, for example. But another thing to keep in mind is that there are other nutrients like calcium and vitamin D that actually help our body absorb magnesium. So it might be useful if you are taking a supplement or you're going to eat foods that are rich in calcium, vitamin D, like milk, for example, that you actually want to ingest that along with your magnesium supplement. And if you have more concerns about that, you can always talk to your doctor. Now, how else can we optimize our energy throughout the day? Well, this is to stay hydrated. And this is a point that a lot of people don't actually consider. People often reach for caffeinated beverages when they want to boost up their energy. But staying hydrated is actually really important for every organ in our body to optimally function. This includes our brain. And we know that older adults are often at risk of getting dehydrated. Sometimes this can come from just forgetting to drink or not even noticing when we're thirsty the way we used to notice when we were younger. So making sure that we are consistently drinking, which is very important for the function of our brains, of our kidneys, of our cardiovascular system, so that we don't run the risk of being dehydrated. And then this next point is honestly so important that I don't know why I didn't state it first. When it comes to energy, there's sort of this catch-22. If we're feeling exhausted, we're not going to have as much energy for exercising. But the more we don't exercise, the less energy we're going to feel. So the way that you can think about this is that exercise, whether it's simple walking or basic cardiovascular exercise or resistance weight training, can actually help you maintain your energy levels over the long term. Something to think about would be to try to come up with a routine where you're always moving your body throughout the day to maintain your energy levels so that you don't have to wait to decide, do I have enough energy to do this exercise or not? Instead, if it's a routine part of your life, you're not going to have to think about it. You'll push yourself by habit And before you know it, you're going to be feeling better in the long term. And this is notwithstanding the fact that resistance training is really important for maintaining our muscle health. And our muscle is considered the house of our metabolism. People like to talk about the liver being the main place where metabolism takes place, which is, of course, the way our body processes energy. But actually, new discussions about this are really focusing more on muscle health and muscle itself being the center of our metabolism. So improving the quality of our muscle and improving the way we treat our muscle is actually maybe the best thing we can do to treat our fatigue. So at this point, you're probably starting to realize that by addressing things in our diet and addressing things in our overall health, like making sure we're hydrated and exercising, is such a valuable tool for maintaining our energy levels over the long term. And then before you know it, you're just going to have more energy to live more of your life. Maybe you can go walk farther and you can travel and see your friends or family and just enjoy other people in your life more because you have more energy for them now. So if that's the case, and you're probably really excited to get jump started in all the ways to optimize your health as you get older, you're going to love my other content on this channel. I have so much information about eating well, eating for energy, and thriving as we get older. Jump into that content and I'll see you in there.